Good morning,
Good
everybody.
morning.
Good morning, Emily Miller.
Hi, Kate.
How
Welcome
are you?
to Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. If it's Wednesday,
Must
at
be Facebook
beachshop.com. Yes, it must be Facebook Live time. We're ready.
I know. It's nice, isn't it?
Message in a bottle today.
I know. We just slide right into this every Wednesday morning like it's nothing.
Like clockwork. That's right. Well, let's bring up the broadcast. There we are.
We shake off our rain
We
boots.
can see all you guys going.
And get ready to do this. It's a rainy
Yes.
day here, which is kind of nice in California because we don't get enough.
Yeah.
And we all really like the rain.
Yeah.
So messy to drive in, but
But we
okay.
definitely need that rain, right?
Yeah, we do. We don't want to have a drought like last year.
We do indeed. All right. Well, it looks like everybody's jumping on. We're in front of the camera. Brandon is behind the camera. And we are going to have a great time today doing kind of this multimedia project, which I think is going to be a lot of fun.
And it's kind of a tassel, which I dig. I think tassels are great.
Yeah, I
know?
do too. I love the tassel.
And all the things you
As
can
you know.
morph it into and do with your own choices and play with. And
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
yeah.
As they like to say on Delicious Dish, good times.
Good times. So I don't know a
Good
delicious
times.
dish.
It was an old Saturday Night Live skit where they did, I think it was Anna Gasteyer and Molly Shannon, and it was their delicious dish. Good times.
Good times.
Good times.
It's
That's what
so
flashes
funny.
in my head.
You know, what
when we do
flashes in
this.
my head is an old coworker who used to say that, and it drove everyone crazy.
Yeah, good times.
Good times.
Good times. Well, so it is good times today here on March 14th, 2018.
14th.
14th today. It's Pie Day.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. And
I was going to bring pie to eat today, but of course, I didn't. No,
Maybe
eating
we'll
on
have some at
Facebook
lunch.
Live. Maybe we'll go get pie.
Yeah.
We also wanted to commemorate. I know that a lot of you guys have probably heard on the social media and stuff about the passing of our great physicist, Professor Stephen Hawking. Kind of the sad
Really,
times.
it's so funny. These are kind of milestones that are happening in our lives where I've never known a world without him as somebody who would explain the kind of difficult,
Right,
the
the
unexplainables.
cosmos. That's right.
Yeah.
Now it's all up to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, and you know,
Neil, don't fail us now.
don't fail us, Neil,
That's
because
right.
we're counting on you.
That's right.
We're and we have what's this? Bill Nye too.
Yes, that's right.
We're counting on Bill Nye.
That's right. All of you guys.
know,
Well,
Mr. Rogers is gone. I mean, you know.
don't all leave us at the same time. But we also, so we wanted to, I thought we would share a few facts about Professor Hawking. He was born actually on the 300th anniversary of the death of Galileo.
I know. I think that's fascinating.
Which is really
because obviously
fascinating.
there needed to be a transition picking up where he left off.
That's right. And he died on what is Einstein's birthday and also Pi Day.
It's amazing.
So those are some interesting facts. And I wanted to share, because, you know, we've been talking a lot about on our Bead Shop Bead Table group about, there was one conversation in particular where one of our members was talking about, you know, making jewelry and kind of sending it out into the world, and she had a couple of failures that went out into the world, and she was kind of taking them back and looking at reworking. So people were kind of talking about success and failure and sticking to it and stuff like that, and it was a really great conversation. Yeah. So I wanted to share this quote from Stephen Hawking that I thought not only applies to the science world, but I think especially applies to the art world as well.
I agree, and I've seen this quote a couple of times, and I have thought about it often because there is something about taking these things to heart, but also to think about the greater picture. Yeah, and being influenced by all kinds of things. To me, that's sort of part of where it comes from. To me, that my influence can be from science, my influence can be from nature, my influence can be from a lot of different things.
Yeah, we take it from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is kind of speaks to me a little bit.
Well, let me read this quote to you and to you. From Stephen Hawking. It says, "Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious, and however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you just don't give up." from Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, yeah, very, very true. And although, I think looking around, I'll look down at my feet, see things. But
I like to look at my feet when I'm wearing
what he's saying is to not,
that's what I like.
to not be downhearted.
Yeah, and not maybe have your scope
tunnel vision
be narrow, but have your scope be very, very wide.
Right.
Yeah, up at the stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though, as I said, when I'm wearing a new pair of shoes,
it's all about looking down at those toes.
I can't help it.
I know.
It's inspiring. But, you guys, so do remember to not to give up, to just keep do your best.
I don't know who said this one, but I really like the idea, too, that we're all stardust. And that's kind of part of what I've always sort of taken. You know?
We're all made of star stuff, I think, or that quote is.
When people pass away, they're leaving the planet in their earthly form, and they're kind of going off into another place, but it kind of comes back that they're still around. There's a lot of memory there. Everyone's still alive in our memories and in our heads.
Yeah, for sure.
And we keep them, with us.
Yeah, we keep them with us. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels,
Stephen.
Professor Hawking.
Yeah.
And thanks
I wonder if he ever wanted to go to space. I don't really know about that. I would love to go to space.
I would go to space.
When they had that whole Mars, mission to Mars, I'm like, let's sign up. And Ed's like, well, we're going to leave our family. And I said, well, it'll be you and me. And he's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to go to Mars.
Let's do the first big class in space. We can't even quite get out of California, but space would be great. There's a lot of people on here that are saying hello and greeting us. It's great to have everybody here. So we're in front of the camera, and Janice is doing some moderating, and we have Gita on doing some linking and stuff as beadshop.com. So if you see some comments from Miss Gita, she's on there as Beadshop. We thank you so much, Gita, for always taking that on. We couldn't deal with links without you.
Oh, Gita,
right?
You have
we heart you.
Here's your Americanism for the day. You save our bacon.
Oh,
regularly.
That's one from way back. That's funny. And we'll talk about. We have some questions about our jewelry and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. I thought that today, with our project being called Timeless Treasures, that I would wear a few of my treasures. So we'll talk about that at the end a little bit. Great. Well, you guys, there is no time like the present. So let's jump on in, shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we, Em?
Let's do it.
All right.
I like this project a lot, Kate. And of course, I'm familiar with Nunn Designs from kind of way back.
Yeah.
Becky is really great making some wonderful innovations. And she, speaking of acting like a scientist, she does look at this a bit scientifically.
Yeah.
And really takes that into account.
Yeah.
Her
designs are just terrific.
Really solid. They have a lot of breadth in colors, but also in styles. I know she's just previewed some new ones on Facebook to have everybody look at that were kind of rustic adornments, and I really liked them a lot.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And she also, Nunn Design is a fairly new line that we're carrying. Janice used it, some of the pieces last week in her Trails End piece, and we are continuing to use it today in this treasure bottle necklace, what we call the Itsy Bottle. And that Itsy Bottle is kind of what spurned, was kind of the impetus or the inspiration, I guess, for this whole piece. So, Bran, let's go ahead and pull the camera down and let's take a look at some of the materials and stuff that we're going to be using. We've got a whole bunch of stuff here on the table in front of you, and you can all find all of the information for Message in a Bottle. We've made this part of a project that we call Timeless Treasures. Now, Timeless Treasures now has two pieces in it. One that you may remember from Free Tip Friday called Boho Beauty, where I used a lot of Green Girl components. And then we coupled this Message in a Bottle piece with it as well. So you can find it on our project page on beadshop.com under Timeless Treasures. So Message in a Bottle, like we said, we mentioned, we've got a bunch of really cool Nunn components that we're using, Nunn Design components. Now, we've got a specific list on the website of what we've used, but we also have a recipe that's on there that you guys can, this is, the ultimate in improvisation.
Well, and, I love to kind of collect as I go along. And I noticed there was a Facebook thread earlier in the week also about collecting and organizing. And I have some little box containers on my workbench.
Where what a surprise. What a surprise, Emily Mel.
Where I like to kind of organize, not unlike our little bowls here.
Yeah.
I like to kind of lay them out and kind of visit with them for a bit. And so sometimes things will find their way because I'll...
That's a nice way to put it.
Kind of be looking at it often, and it'll find its way into it. I often find when I'm making something, the thing that starts out as my inspiration often kind of leads me to other things.
Yeah, it's like your starting point. And sometimes that starting point doesn't actually, for me...
Doesn't make it in the piece.
Make it into the finished piece. No, that's exactly right.
Well, or it splits off and there becomes two different things.
Exactly.
Because it leads you down another pathway.
Yeah.
Well,
what we're going to talk about, we're going to take this project in several different steps. We're going to essentially talk about how this tassel portion, how we create kind of this focal point for this piece, and we're going to talk about how to attach charms and things to the bottom, to the end, as well as beads up on this tassel. Then we're also going to talk about this leather. This is our new deerskin lace leather that we have, and it comes actually in two different... Do you want to grab the 3mm?
Sure.
As well? We might as well grab that just so we can show it. We have it in this 5mm width, and we also have it in the 3mm, which is kind of nice as well. I like this 5mm because it feels kind of heavy and substantial, and we've really kind of put it through its paces, and I'll talk about like the strength and stuff of it when we actually get to that part, but I think you're really going to love it. Here's a little bit of that 3mm that Emily grabbed as well, and it's nice and heavy, and we'll talk a little bit about it when we get to that portion. Then we're also going to take a look at how to do a little bit of mixed media, or well, it's not really mixed media, but kind of mixing chain and leather together, and to talk about just a connection that I like doing here, and other ways of kind of incorporating other stuff into it. This could also be you could add a beaded strand or stuff to that as well. So there's going to be kind of three portions that we look at this, and then Emily has, I think, a really fun way about adding charms and stuff as well that we'll take a look at. So what you're going to need for this project, and you can kind of see what we've got here, and Brandon, if you want to bring the picture out a little bit, I'm going to pull some of these things to the front. One of the ways, you can see that the piece that I've got here, let's part ways here a little bit here so we can get this, kind of isolate this a little. You can see kind of the colorway that I went for here. What a surprise, I used green and blue. Quelle surprise on that, right? But you can pull your color palette from any inspiration that you like. These Itsy bottles that are here, the way that these come, and I thought it was so clever of Janice to get these. She was looking through the Nunn offerings and decided that this Itsy bottle was just the bee's knees, and we totally agree. I just dig them. So you can see they come in three different colorways.
And I would definitely roll a little love note up in there and permanently attach that in there.
You can put all kinds of things in there, and I'm going to show you one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to make this bottle up. And you can see, I don't know if you guys can recognize the little mix that's in here. Do you know what that's from?
That little I love you mix, or
no? It's from when I did the freeform heart on Valentine's Day. I had a little bit of that left over, and I just poured it in.
Aren't you clever?
I'm terribly clever. And Emily and I were playing last week when we were putting this thing together. You made up like a little rolled note.
Yep.
You can put paper in here, all kinds of cool stuff. The opening of this bottle is pretty tiny, so you can't get anything that's too big in here, but I know you made a few little wire shapes that you tossed in here. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of ways that you can use
an
this.
11, some of the finer gemstone beads, the shadows, the small shadows fit in there
Yep,
nicely.
tiny shadows.
Tiny shadows. the 11, any of the 11-aughts and the 11-aught metal beads look kind of nice in there too, to kind of pick up that metal top a little bit. But it's such a nice, sleek. One of the things I like about Nunn Design is their things are so well done.
Yeah, and well thought out.
They are completely thought out and complete in themselves. It's not something that you have to do some finagling with to make it work. It is just something that works beautifully on its own. Sierra Cast has that as well.
Yeah, it does have that.
I think there's some things I like aesthetically about Nunn Design that's just a little different from Sierra Cast. And
we also have the specific, I don't know if we have any sitting here on the table, but the specific actually jump rings from Nunn. It's the 5.4 millimeter jump ring that we're carrying now that are specific to the Nunn Design pieces. So a lot of the jump rings that we carry do match, but we have 3 different flavors. Did we grab those jump rings off the wall? Do you know, Brandon, will you grab them? Brandon will grab them real quick. So they match all of Becky's platings,
the metal colors all the same.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
And the thing about, and the charms and different things, those when you order from us, you guys, we include a little jump ring in there as well. And it's one of those specifically, thanks Bran, those are specifically from Nunn. And you can see we carry them in 4 flavors. I have 4 right here in my hand, but I'm counting 3 because I can't count. But you can see those finishes really match exactly the plating that Becky has here. I also like them because they're a little bit of a heavier gauge.
We've talked about jump rings and gauge on and on and on, and definitely having that thicker metal that they're made from, at least 18 gauge, but even bigger if possible, gets you to having a much more sturdy, secure jump ring.
Yeah, and you know, and I say mix and match. You know, if we're out of one style, pick up another flavor. The whole thing about this piece is that we're doing mixed metals. Now, they come in bags of 50, so you'll have plenty. And as I say, if you order any of the charms, we stick one in the charm with for that charm. So you've got that already.
Pull out those the big hoops too.
Yeah,
because those I think are really. So this is an element that I use a bunch in lots of wire working pieces that I do. It's a soldered jump ring.
Yeah.
So it's a complete circle with no openings. And
it's this one right here.
I just love that as a design element. You can do so many things with it, you know.
I mean, it's great, even if you did a mixed metal with these new earring, or rather these new feather components. And the feathers that we get from Becky, they're 2-sided. So you could do just an earring just like this, wire wrap, maybe do a ring, wire wrap here, and then do maybe a, you know, some kind of an ear wire or something up there. They look really great. And this is a pretty beefy, ring. I don't have our, oh, Brand, will you grab that millimeter gauge that's right behind you? Let's grab that sucker and let's actually take a look at how big this thing is. The millimeter gauge, we're going to come in, and the outside diameter of this ring is almost 12 millimeters. It's pretty big, which is great. And it's a fairly chunky, I think it's almost like it's 1.8 millimeters, so about a 14 gauge ring.
Yep.
There, it's pretty nice. So, and as Emily said, they're completely closed. There's no opening for that. So it's a great component to have.
Yeah, I would wire wrap from it. We could do seed beads with it. We could treat it like the hoops that we got from Nunn, you know, a couple weeks ago that we used.
Right.
We could embellish in it.
Weave a little thing in there. There's so much to do.
There's so many things to do with those.
And we're still carrying, you guys, a whole bunch of our other jump rings as well. We've got, oh, they're right here. What we did to store our jump rings, we used our little storage, you can see, and we labeled them with our label maker so we know when we open one, this is antique brass in 5 millimeter, antique silver in 5, antique silver in 6, so we can quickly and easily find everything. This copper 5 millimeter jump ring, it's a little smaller than the one from Nunn. It's kind of like one size down, but it also works well with these.
Absolutely.
So you can use a variety of different rings. We also have some new jump rings coming on the horizon, new oval ones that we're going to be adding in that Emily and I and Janice have been looking at. So we're super excited. We'll be sharing those with you guys soon. So
are these new Nunn Design
no,
ones too?
these are old ones that we've had. This one's called Blank Slate.
Signature.
Oh no, Signature.
Signature look.
Signature look. This guy. And did I? You know what? I might have had it listed.
But didn't use it.
I think it maybe didn't get.
Didn't make the cut.
It didn't make the cut. It may still be sitting in that
design
little
tray.
design tray, but I think it's perfect. I'll use it when we make a dangle. I just love it. I love it.
You know what? We're going to be talking a lot about glue in the next few weeks. And one of the things that I would use this for, and because it's textured on one side, it's a great glue-on bail.
Yes, it's a great glue-on bail.
So when that little bit of texture that this has would make it grab really nicely to a flat stone or a shell or a little piece of glass or something that you might have.
Like let's say that this walking Buddha didn't have a ring. We could use our glue and glue that here. You know what you could also use with this is we have those glue-on earring posts. This would make a great earring top. Right. And then do your dangle
from there.
Yeah. So these little simple little blank charms are really perfect. Are perfect for
I like things that have multiple uses.
Yeah, multiple uses for sure.
Really give us some options. You know, it's quite nice.
And people were saying also about the inner diameter of the ring. There is an inner diameter to this caliper. Let me show you. I'm going to re-zero it out. And it's right here. It's this. I'm going to turn it to me here.
Yes, the top part of the caliper does ID.
Sorry, I'm back. I've got to hold it backwards. There we go. I'm having spatial relationship issues. There we go. So you can see how this side of the caliper, how that widens out to the inside diameter, so you can see this is about a 7.6 ID, 7.6 millimeters. It's a super helpful way to go with these guys. We play around with this digital caliper all the time. And we've been seeing you guys been posting, you guys have been getting your calipers. I just love them. And they also do inches. You can change it from millimeters.
And it changes while you have it measured. So if you measure something that's
so let's
5
say
millimeters,
it's here.
it'll change it to inches and give you the equivalent.
Right there. Yep.
Yeah,
it's so
pretty nifty.
We heart you, little caliper. So that's with the jump rings. That's what's up with our new jump rings. So they'll be in. We're not, but there'll be a new offering that we're adding to our jump ring line, and we're super, super pleased with that. We also have added, and you may have seen these last week, but these faceted, what we call the faceted tube and the faceted barrel, I think, right? These are?
Yep.
And look at how great these pair as a mixed media kind of a thing. I'm looking all over for it. It's sitting right here in front of me.
Well, I would just say grab these guys too.
Right. It really makes
big shadows in there.
Yeah, it really makes a great earring dangle. And where are those little, come here, tassels. Come here. Right? We put the tassel down at the bottom. How cute would that be?
And you know, when we're mixing metals, I don't feel at all uncomfortable about having things being a little different. Like, if that is the antique gold and this is sort of our brass, the brass has got a little bit more of a green tint to it, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's the beauty of doing this kind of...
that problem with mixing things around. So.
No, I agree. I think it's the beauty of having kind of this mixed bag here. Put those away. So let's jump in and show how to fill that little bottle.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's the cutest little bottle ever.
It's the cutest little bottle.
Wait till you get yours in your hand.
Terribly darling.
You want to use the little mix we made this morning?
Yeah. So we made up a little mix of things. And Emily,
I'll give you 3 guesses how I put the beads in the bottle.
What's that? You did a volcano? Totally. Do you want to do like a little squiggle or something too with the wire?
Absolutely.
Emily was doing some cute little tiny squiggles. They were
and they were so tiny they ran off.
I know. I put them aside, a special.
Long gone.
So that we wouldn't lose them, and of course. So
long gone.
I just added a few we made a little bead mix here. And these little tiny 11-aughts and little mix of shadows and stuff. Right? You could just kind of, I don't know.
Scoop.
I like doing a little pinch and putting them in. I don't know. But see, we could do something like that. If we had a little piece of paper I'm just going to rip this little piece of paper from right here, make it look like it's a little thing.
You could tea dye some paper.
Yeah. Little tea dye, dip it
in your tea.
In my coffee.
Yep.
Here, let me do that right now. I just did that in my coffee. I'm going to wipe it off with my paper towel that I've got here. I mean, no time like crafting.
Right?
Crafting in the moment. Here's a little.
Well, because
there we go.
That's the fun
We'll let
part.
that dry. That looks a little tea dyed. Looks a little stained, right? And maybe it's still a little damp, but let me just say, put a little message. Maybe my message is, I heart you. Maybe.
You complete me.
You're my, I heart you. Right? There's my, oh yeah, look at that little thing. And then, I don't know, you could maybe, I don't know, tear this up. I don't know. You guys, I know you guys out there have scrapbook paper. Don't tell me that you don't. Because I know you do. If you're like me, you have scrapbook paper.
Oh, I've got scrap fabric. I've got lace.
Yeah.
I've got everything.
You can put sand.
Sand in there. Moss.
Moss.
Dried flowers.
Yeah.
Right?
So many.
You know, if you had a little collection of shells, tiny shells from your trip to Hawaii.
Tiniest shells.
You know, sometimes you sit on the beach and you just let the sand run through your fingers and you find tiny, tiny little things.
Right.
You know?
I'm going to roll this little piece of paper right around my awl. So it's like a little round thing.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a little, is it too tall? Might be just a hair tall. So I don't know, I'll clip using my wire cutters because, you know, why not? Because they're here. I know you guys do that too.
What?
Cast around what's near you. At least that's what I do. There we go. There's that little heart. There's that little spiral. Let me get one more little bottle. So we are actually crafting with things that are just
live.
Actually sitting on this table.
Live. Doesn't get any liver than that.
No more. None more live. Where?
With Nunn Designs.
With Nunn Designs. I'm looking for my. I don't know if we have our knotting tweezers, but I bet I can get this in there anyway.
I made a little heart, but I don't think it's going to fit in the bottle.
I don't know. Will this spiral fit in here?
I don't know.
Let me see if
try
my
not to
big
make it
fingers.
too big.
Let me see. Oh, thank you.
It's like doctors passing things in
there we go.
Operating room.
Thank you. Oh, close. It's a little.
Shove it in there.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't want to shove. It's a little too big. I'm going to unfurl it. Plus, I like the word unfurl. There we go. I'm going to clip it a little bit. Come on, how cute is that right there? Pretty cute. Put another few little beads in. Let's put this guy in. Look at that. We'll put in my little rolled piece of coffee stained paper. Whoops. I can get it in there with the little heart. Right. So whatever you look, come on, that's just darling.
Look. There you go.
We could be doing this all day.
I got a little heart squashed
in there. Oh yeah, look at that little heart. Come on, Em. That's just darling.
A little spiral.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it just a touch shorter because I think they're a little tall.
Okay.
Look at that. There's that little spiral. Maybe a soupçon more of beads. There we go. And then once you've decided,
dandelion puffs, yeah.
Right? Yeah, totally. So once everything is in there, like that, we're going to glue it in place.
You could put a little lock of Eli's hair in there.
You could.
It'd be very sweet.
Tie it with the tiniest little ribbon.
Yep.
Right?
It'd be very sweet.
Take off my necklaces
because
I think they're rattling a little bit. So the glue that we're using, and we tested out some different glues. We tested out the Zap, and we also tested out the GS Hypo, and we found that neither of those worked well enough for our tastes.
Right.
Okay? So we've just added these cool tiny tubes of E6000. Now E6000 comes in a lot of different size tubes, but we settled on the small one, number one, because I know when I have a giant tube of E6000, that E6000 will sit, and sometimes it'll get all gummy at the top, and we just thought, you know what, let's do them in tiny little sizes.
Well, E6000 really does have a shelf life.
It
Once
does.
you open it, it's about a year, and you really want to use it up. And the tube that you normally, this is
This is small, like
not even a quarter ounce.
No, not
the
even.
tube they normally sell it in is like 5 ounces.
Gigantor.
And
yeah.
I'm not going to use it. I wouldn't use it up amongst everyone I know.
Right.
In a year.
Right.
So you end up chossing it.
Yeah.
Which feels wasteful.
And the issue with the Zap, I sent Janice a couple of these bottles, and she was testing them. She used the Zap glue that we carry, and which is right here. Let me show you, just so you guys have a visual. And the Zap is good for so many things, but what it did to this bottle was it clouded it. And I think it's because of the fumes of the Zap.
Yeah.
Just clouded.
Yeah.
So the whole bottle became milky, which was an interesting effect.
Yeah.
But not quite what we were going for. Right. Okay? So we looked around and we found small bottles of E6000, which we love. And so the E6000, the way it comes here is you open it up, and on a new bottle, you need to pierce the interior with the lid of the cap.
Can I give you a tip?
Do. Please do.
So reach over there in the work bin there and find the plastic bags and open that up.
This bag?
Nope. Open that. Grab that plastic bag.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
I have found over the years that when you open up an E6000, if you use the piercer in the top of the lid, you get an awful lot of glue out at once.
Oh.
So instead of using that, which makes kind of a big hole, as you can see here, I'll use a T-pin or a push pin.
Oh, that's clever.
To get a smaller hole.
Yeah.
And not so much comes out at once.
Right.
It really, to me, controls it a little bit better.
Really clever, Em.
Yep.
Terribly clever. So I'm going to extrude a little bit of this E6000 out onto my plastic baggie. Okay, and then I'm going to put the lid on. Good glue management.
Yep.
Right.
And E6000 is a little stinky.
It is. I can smell it now.
Yeah.
So if we start to get a little kooky, you know why. You want to definitely use this in a well-ventilated area. So, and we want to make sure if any E6000 has kind of come out and gotten gummy on
clean it off right
lid,
away.
Yeah, clean it off right away. Then put the lid back on so you don't glue this lid, right?
In place.
In place.
It's fun.
So, let's see. We did a gold one or a copper one in the project, so let's do a silver one. I don't know. Whatevs. Let's do, oops, you stay there, you stay there. I'm going to get a little bit, I'm using my trusty toothpick. And we don't want to go too heavy-handed, but I'm just using the toothpick to swipe a little of that E6000 around the rim. And see how I always get E6000 on
the outside?
The outside. So I'm going to take my paper towel here, wipe that around. There we go. And I can also, just for good measure, add just a little dot. The thing that always kind of bugs me about E6000 is that it's so stringy.
You know, one of the things I like about E6000 is it's sort of like grout. You know, it has it has a little bit of viscosity to it.
Right.
And I think that you do get the strings when you have that style of glue.
So
but
you
it's
just
a little
have to
bit
deal with it.
Fills the gaps a little bit, which is kind of
does.
nice.
So there it all is. Then we're just going to, with the courage of our convictions, close it up.
Yeah.
If you have any little extra strings or whatever, you want to just take them off. You want to be really careful not to get a whole mess of glue down the bottle, because you may, I don't know, etch it, or it may be difficult to come off later.
I would also dry this standing up.
Sure,
just so that
gravity's your friend.
Gravity's my friend, and that none of the bits inside happen to go up there and get glued.
And get glued. Very smart.
Yeah.
So we're just going to set that. I'm going to set it actually out of camera range, but we'll set it right there and let it cure. Mm-hmm. Then what I do, I always use a surface that you can see I extruded way too much E6000 out of here. But I always use a plastic baggie so I can then fold it in half. My glue is safely kind of covered, and then I'm able to just toss it without making a big old mess.
Yeah, that's great use for the old used bags.
Yeah, your used baggies, exactly.
Because they get a little dirty or just a little not so pretty. Yeah, good one.
So there's that. All right, so as our bottle is curing, let's take a look at the tassel, shall we? Do let's. So what I used for this tassel, because I wanted the maximum possibility to get things onto this piece, right? So I used 0.5 millimeter leather cord. Now, we could also use CKC, Chinese knotting cord.
Right.
We could use regular Ceylon. We could use a mixture of all these, whatever works for you. But I chose to use, because I kind of like this kind of distressed look of this light distressed brown, light brown distressed, light brown. That's what it is.
I think you're right.
I don't know the order of those words. Yes. And so let's count the number of tassel legs that I have on here. Let's see. There's 2, there's 4, there's 6, there's 8. So that means I cut 4 long strands of leather. So let me cut them. Let me get our trusty. And how long are you asking? I could not tell you. Maybe about 10 inches. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'll cut them 12 inches or so. I want to be generous because I also want to do like my knots and stuff here. So
I love the look of the leather. It's got some volume to it, so it is flexible,
inches.
But it's also got a little bit of oomph to it. Behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it has a little bit of body, so the tassels just aren't kind of flopping around. So I'm going to cut 4 of these strands, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And like I said, we could also mix some Chinese knotting cord. Right?
Right.
Or, like we said, regular Ceylon.
Yeah. The regular Ceylon would add lots of color.
Yeah.
And it'd be very interesting. Plus regular Ceylon and the 0.5 millimeter are
kind of close in diameter.
Kind of close,
right?
but they'll fit through a lot of different beads.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe not your semi-precious mostly, but
yeah, you could just mix all that in there. Look really pretty. So, with the connection that I did here, you guys will recognize these transitions. So delicious. And all I did was I chose one of those big, what are we calling these? Chunky rings, big rings.
They are called
the mini hoops. Mini hoops. I guess I wanted to call them chunky rings, but in my head that's what I call them. I'm going to use a gold one. And all I did was I put everything through this mini hoop. I got all my ends, brought all my ends together, and I selected a transition. Maybe I'll select a silver one since this is all about mixed metals. And see how I can just put all the strands through. Slide it up. Now this is where I want everything to look real pretty. So I turn my transition and I want to make sure
everybody's laying side by side and looking nice.
Side by side. Exactly. So I'm going to try and just kind of tell all this leather, hey man, I'm in charge. And if I need to kind of take it out
and rethread it through, it's
and
easy.
Rethread it, yeah, it's easy.
I suppose if you were using much bigger beads, you could go up a size in leather.
Yeah,
to 1 millimeter.
Totally could. Yeah.
It would give you a much more substantial looking tassel.
I wanted to use all of these, you know, like those 6/0 age check Picasso. I wanted to use those, and those fit nicely on this 0.5. This one's a little wonky, so let me fix it. You know, just line everybody up. And I arbitrarily chose 4 strands because that's what I liked. But, you know, you do you. And decide how many you like there too. There we go. That looks better. So I'm going to pull everything so it's all even. I'm going to turn this transition. And can you see how everything is laying nice and flat? And then we crimp this transition bead very carefully so that we don't crush anything. and make it look real nice. I want to, that one's giving me a little bit of sass. And you know, it's better to fix it now, you guys, than to have a lifetime of regret. So let me just fix it.
It's kind of be bugging you after a while.
Right? It's totally bugging me. It's bugging me right now. So, you know what we're not going to stand for? That, Emily Miller. We're not going to stand for it. And look at, you can just get this little piece of leather out. There we go. And thread it through correctly. I guess you could also thread these through one by one, I suppose, to really make them lay nicely instead of fiddling with it like I'm doing here. But why make it easy on yourself?
Well, where's the fun in that?
Right? No fun at all. So once we get all of this, all this lined up, you need to decide how much room, and you want to show everybody kind of while I fiddle with this for just a second.
So, you know, enough room here before we crimp to give us good movement. We always like to have that whenever we're making a joint or a connection. I kind of think of the mechanics of these pieces when I'm making them. So this goes for my wire wrapping. Anytime I'm transitioning from my soft flex to the clasp, any kind of a transition or a connection, I'm thinking of it as a joint or a link, and I want it to be flexible in all directions. If it isn't, it's a place where something could take
Something will wear
poorly or break on me if I'm not paying attention. So taking that extra time, having a little bit of air in here,
as Janice likes to say, air,
gives us that kind of refined looking tassel. You know, I also think a lot of times when I'm doing a design that I want to control what I'm doing a little bit and doing it with a little bit of thought and purpose to have some things be rustic and rough and have other things be smooth. And this gives me contrast between those two elements. So a lot of times when I'm looking at designs, I'm looking at the contrast. Large to small, black to white, all those things. But in this case, here we have something that looks pretty refined, as does this wrap and this leather. And then this crazy wildness down here. Sets both of them off. It allows both of them to shine a little bit and have a stage.
And do their own something. Yeah, no, exactly. And I like that, pointing out, like, this is nice and controlled, and then it goes off kind of into the chaos below. So you can see I've lined everything up, and I'm really using this orang to kind of pull everything so it's nice and neat. And then we're just going to come in and we're going to crimp and flatten that transition. I'm going to do this in a couple of steps, and I'm going to use the rear of my tool.
Up near the hinge,
yeah,
where you
up
get the
near
most
the hinge,
effort.
yeah. And I'm going to give it just a little crimp, and it may not be completely crimped, so I want to turn it over, being really careful not to disturb those pieces of leather, and I'm going to crimp it again. Okay? Then I'm going to walk my tool down and walk my tool down really slowly and deliberately, so I'm not making any nicks in this transition with the side or the tips of my tool. And I'll keep doing that flip and press and flip and press, and also not only going this way across, but this way across as well.
Yeah, making it even and consistent looking.
And then I'll check it.
Yeah, it looks great.
Right? And see how, since we took that little bit of time, our leather is laying really nicely coming out from the thing.
So these solid rings that we're talking about are called mini hoops.
Yes, mini hoops.
And we're just getting started with those.
Yeah, you said that, Emily.
They have a lot of things that we're going to be able to play with and do with those. All kinds of things.
No, we love them a lot. Then, now next, all I did here, you guys, is I simply started stringing with the stuff that was in front of me. So I used this Age Check Picasso in 6/0. So I'm going to pull a few of those.
You know, when you said that you'd use those and I was pulling stuff for today, I didn't realize what a nice job you'd done sort of separating these by color.
Thanks, Em. Yeah.
These little blue and white half and halves are so nice.
They're so good, right?
Yeah.
And they add a little pop.
Well, and putting them side by side kind of gives them a little more oomph. So I saw this bead, or beads, not realizing that they were half white and half blue.
Right. They're really cool.
They really have a nice effect. They're matte, but they really bring in that dark blue kind of saturated color, that cobalty blue, which I think plays really off of all metals in that kind of a colorway. So blue with silver, blue with copper, blue with gold. They all say different things. This goes very sort of naturally, the blue and copper, because copper has a blue component to it.
Yeah,
and then the blue against the gold, there's your big contrast, right? So that could be a way to stir up some energy and
and a little bit of
variation.
Color, a little color variation. Yep. And as you say, when you really do look at these age check Picasso, I'll pull a few more out here. All of our age check mixes that we carry, you can see there were also these little brown guys there that I kind of pulled to the side, these little stripy guys, and then there's also kind of these seafoam Picasso ones here too. So you can sort your color or not, just throw them in as is, but there's a lot of color variation that you can kind of pattern with as you start to do your tassels.
In one little tube.
In one tiny little tube.
I have a tube right here.
It's in a little, I think those come in a little baggie now. Those little guys, I think. Or maybe they come in a tube.
They come in a tube.
No, it's right there. No, it's in a baggie.
No.
6-aught. Right here.
Okay.
That's the one.
I thought they came in a tube.
No, we were tubing them, but
all right.
They look a lot. You can really see them through the baggie.
Can you?
You can. You totally can. So I'm going to put on a few of these 6-aughts and one of these Tarahishi. And then you can just decide where you want to put your knot. Now, we could put a couple of knots or one single knot. I'm going to put a double overhand. So I'm going to go and I'm going to create my loop. And I'm going to go through once, like this, and pull it all the way through. And I'm going to go through twice. Okay. Now, that knot, you can move it around using your awl. If we wanted to move it down, my awl could help me do that. Or if I wanted to move it up, my awl could help me do that. Right? And I'm just going to let it knot where it falls.
Again, adding air and adding to the movement.
Yeah. And so see, there's that first little section. Now I'll make a second section. And I'll put maybe a couple more of these. And I'll leave, once in a while, these 6-aughts. Oh yeah, that fits through. I could make just a single knot like this and make it a little close up to those beads so they kind of stay in position this way. And then I can use, if I want, any of these little, this is that faceted tube. Now notice on that faceted tube, you guys, how the hole is a little bit bigger. So a single knot wouldn't do the trick. So you want to go through once on these and definitely twice. Or put a bead that has a small hole underneath it.
Yeah, I would use a hishi for that.
Yeah. And you can just slide this knot down, go where it lands, and you can check it. See, that's not going anywhere.
Good one.
So you can see, there's my first little leg of tassel. Now, I can see as I bring down the second leg, I've got some space in there. So maybe I just want to string on, I don't know, whatever floats your boat.
So you like to do this kind of strand at a time?
Yeah, I kind of filled them all, and then I noticed when I came back through, I had to fill them a little more to make them longer.
Oh, okay.
There was a temporary loss of internet, but we're back.
Oh, okay.
If anybody notices it, everything's fine.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
We're up, we're
frozen
running.
Too.
Yep.
Except
So
for
just
comments.
click back on in if you got frozen.
It was everybody.
Okay. Well,
So it's all good.
we're all good. There we go. So you can see now I've got this little section here. So maybe I don't know, I could do a whole line of these hishi too for a little bit of metal, which would look good. Metal. Maybe I'm going to do 5. I don't know.
Well, I thought it was interesting that you were filling out one strand at a time and then kind of matching it as you went to the next one.
Yeah.
I think I would have done it where I filled each strand from the top.
Yeah.
You know, done a few across and then work my way down on each strand. But I like what you're doing too.
Yeah. So
you're a little more risk-taking than I am.
You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right, Emily Miller? What are you going to do? Now, let's start taking a look at, I mean, they're only beads, right? That's what I say. You can see here I used one of those. That's when I used one of those 6/0 at the bottom. So you can also see I've started to attach, like some of these just terminate by cutting off the leather.
Right.
Like that, right? This guy terminates by attaching a leaf to the end. So let me show you how that's done. Let me put another couple of beads on here just for good times. Let me do this, because beading is good times. And sometimes what I did here, this leather is all cut off in kind of a blunt manner, but you could also come in and I could use my thread snips, especially with the skinny leather, and angle cut it so it has a nice sharp tip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. It's much easier to string it through a bead if it's got that pointy tip.
And we're going to just knot it there, and let's go ahead. I think I have enough on here. Let's knot on, let's use this. It's called Good Karma. It's a little elephant.
Oh, he needs a jump ring. Let me put him on for you.
Oh, does he?
I think so.
Well, I did this one. I did it just straight through.
All right.
So, and that one actually I silk wrapped. So let me use, do I have a long enough thread? I think I do. Let me actually, I'm going to put my elephant there. I'm going to use the, I'm going to use this feather. This guy comes on, and then, how did I do that? Okay. How did I?
What did I do?
What did I do there? So what I did was I pulled in, you know, I think I need this to actually be a little bit longer. Yeah. So let me do this on this next one. This one will do, I'll do a silk wrap on this one and we'll save this one. I need one that's a little longer. So let's go back to our friend the elephant. And there is, let's actually move over to the silk wrapped one. You can see for the silk wrapping, super easy, right? You just silk wrap, but I used regular Ceylon.
Gives you a little bit more volume.
Yeah.
A little more color.
And I chose the Celadon, but you can choose, you know, what might be kind of cool is to keep going that pop of color and use like a blue or something would look really great.
So look at this other color I pulled. I pulled a few different ones. This peacock I thought would look really nice
It's
in there
really
too.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So any of those will really work for you. Now we've got a great skill builder on silk wrapping. We silk wrapped last week. We did a whole bunch of work with the silk wrapping. So I'm just going to go over this very quickly. But I've cut a length of regular Ceylon, and you're asking me how long it is, so I will tell you. This is about a 10-inch strip. I'm going to fold it from about 2/3 to 1/3 here. I'm going to loop my little elephant, and I'm laying it here, and I'm laying that loop of Ceylon right here. And I'm going to start, I like to start wrapping towards, or wrapping at the elephant side, so I know where I'm beginning the silk wrap, and then wherever it ends up here, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to come in and make that first nice round wrap of that silk wrap, nice and tight. And I'm going to switch hands. I'm going to get it actually a little bit closer to me because I can't see a thing. There we go. That first wrap, and I'm going to wrap it again. Now I'll switch my hands, and I'll continue to wrap one wrap against the other.
You know, I learned how to do this. It had a different name to it. I learned how to do this when I was in high school, and I was helping my dad with his boat and helping him.
Yeah, it's a boating knot.
Prepare the lines on the boat.
Yeah.
And this is called a whip stitch.
Yeah.
At the end of the rope to keep it from unraveling, or to make an end that will fit through the eye of something else. You do this little whip on the end. And I've done that and rope splicing for years and years and years.
Yeah, because you use it to lash two pieces together too. Yeah, it's a good. Our old class director at Bead Shop back in the day of brick and mortar, before I came on board, she was a sailor. So we learned so many sailing knots from Mia when she taught us these. So here's the loop, and I'm going to pass the end of this seal-on through. And now I'm going to just come in and pull this end here to make that loop a little smaller. And you can see I need to tighten, make sure everything's nice and neat before I pull that loop under using this thread. Let me make sure you guys can see it. And I'm going to just pull it, and I'm going to gently tug, and I can feel that little loop
sliding inside,
pop underneath. And if you need a little bit of help, sometimes I get my chain nose plier just to help me pull it. But I can feel, I put my thumb on top so I can feel that little connection jump underneath the wrap, and I can neaten it up. Last week, we used this in Janice's piece to make a nice kind of ending loop. That was really, I think, a great closure, an ingenious closure. And Janice used a little bit of hypo cement underneath.
As she was pulling that loop in.
As she was pulling it. We also had a comment on the bead table. I think it was maybe Denise. I should have written it down. But she observed that when she was using this to make that closure, she actually held off gluing underneath until the necklace or till the piece was finished so she could adjust it. Which was really clever.
When I read that, I had to think about it for a second, but it really is genius in the sense that you always have to make an adjustment of length at the end, and because you don't quite know where it's going to land.
Yeah, so she waited to do her glue.
A perfect genius solution.
Yeah,
for sure.
We loved it. And then this is so tight, and the thread and the leather work so well together that I don't do any gluing at this point. And you could, if you wanted to leave some deliberate ends there, you could, right? If you felt like it. So there's that. So the next one is, let's go, we've got this, we've got this. Let's do another one, and let's tie that feather on. And you can see, I don't know if I did it on this one, and I think I did. The ones at the sides are a little bit shorter, and they get a little longer.
So that it tapers.
Yeah, it tapers on the inside. So you could work from the inside out or from the outside in, whatever works. So let me get this guy. Let me get another leg. Here's a good leg.
I mean, that's
the
other thing about something that looks so random. It's really not.
No,
it's not. It's got a lot more purposeful intentions in it.
Kind of planned.
Because then it looks like something. Otherwise, it might just look like a mishmash. So I've used one of these bigger shadow beads, the Queen Shadow, which I love, love, love. And I'm going to let this one float around. So I'm just going to put that single one on there. And I'm going to tie that. And then I'll just tie a couple of these on, and then we'll tie the feather. It takes fewer beads on this tassel Not
than
very
you
many.
think.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually put a hishi in between. These tiara hishi that we carry, the quality is so regular, and they're just perfect. That may be my second favorite bead next to my beloved shadow beads. Let me get a little feather. So this is how I tie something on. I need a good length of cord. This is about 4 inches at least, maybe 4.5. And you need that length because what I do is I make my loop, and then let me get my fingers working here. I make my loop, and then I kind of send my, see that how I kind of send that charm through, kind of holding on to everything all at the same time.
And wiggle it through.
Wiggle it down Let me get a little closer to my vision. Sorry, I've taken it temporarily. It's temporarily off view there. There we go. So you guys can see it. So I can see it. Then I'll put it back so you guys can see it. Then, once I've slid that feather charm through like that, I can use my awl to kind of walk that down a little bit closer.
I kind of liked the long knot. I like that.
That long knot,
yeah,
right?
that long loop. It looks good.
And then I just make sure that everything is arranged nicely and the knot isn't all flipped over and stuff. That's okay. And then I tighten, pulling on this side and this side. And again, you could leave a little bit of an end. Okay. So that's how you complete the ends of all of these tassels. And you can see how I've added this guy. Now I thought that the Itsy Bottle needed a little something special, so I silk wrapped it.
Oh, with some leather.
With the leather.
Wow, that looks great.
So I did that instead. Okay, but you can see this is starting to take shape. So now connecting this, we've got our next step. As we go here, we're going to figure out our necklace. Now I don't even know the finished length of this. Let me measure it so you guys can see. Let me first untangle it. And then let's give it a measure. It's a long necklace. It's a fancy say something necklace.
I like a long necklace myself.
I do too. So, I don't know, 34 inches about or so, 34, just the necklace portion. You adjust to what works for you. So the leather that I cut, though, this is about 16...
24-ish?
Yeah, about 24. Maybe 24, 26 inches. Because you want enough to kind of play with. So I'm going to cut the leather cord. And you can use a single of the 5mm. You could use a single of the 3mm. And do we have the 3mm closures, Em?
I'll grab them.
You want to grab those? So you can see kind of the difference between how they look. This is the 3mm leather here. And I could, if I were doing the 3mm, I could do it this way. And I could put the 3mm through one side and the 3mm through the other side, so it hung this way, right?
Yeah,
I could do
absolutely.
that. That would look kind of cool.
Oh, that would be kind of nice. I like that.
Yeah. So let me attach it just on this one end, and I'll use the 3. I've got the 5mm closures there. Perfect. So let me use this lighter. In the version that I used here, I used the chocolate 5mm lace, but let me show you how I would use this 3mm. And you could use the smooth side, or I could flip it over so I could use the suede side. Whatever floats your boat. Now, I did this with this silk wrapping with the 0.5mm leather. So, let me grab it in my messy bead table here. This 5mm, I love it for silk wrapping, but it can also be a little difficult to silk wrap with it. So I want to show you kind of how I finagle it. Let me cut a piece off here. This isn't going to be very long, so I'm going to cut it about this length here. There we go. And this is the saddle color of the leather. And again, this is 3mm. I use the 5 here in the other necklace sample. So as I come around, again, I need a little bit of that air.
I like a little air. You want things to move.
Yeah, you want it to move around. Now, if I didn't want to silk wrap it, I could crimp it with a transition, right? That would work too. But let's go ahead and silk wrap. Now again, that 1/3 to 2/3, again about 10 inches, maybe a little bit less of the cord. I'm going to lay it down with the loop pointing towards my non-dominant hand. I'm holding it like so. Now that first wrap, I'm going to bring that around nice and tight. That sets the tone for your whole silk wrap. And now I'm just going to go one next to the other. And I'm trying to keep this suede lace flat so it doesn't twist under my wrap.
So you're holding this kind of one right on flat on top of the other, and your wrap isn't going to be as round as it normally would. It's going to have a little bit of a squared off look.
Yeah, it's going to be a little squared. And again, wrap this as long as you want to wrap it, right? So we've got that there. And now I pull that through the loop just like I did. Now, this is where, if you're doing a silk wrap with a piece of leather, you might break it.
Right.
So you need to really be careful as you're pulling this under. You kind of have to finagle it a little bit. So I'm going to pull, and see how I'm holding it real close here? So I'm just gently, I'm inching just, and see, there it went. It broke, but I was inching enough so that my connection is under here. I still have a little bit there.
That's
so
pretty good, though.
I'm going to tell it to just, hey, I'm going to pull that there. I'm going to pull that there.
Sorry, Gita.
And it was fine.
Finagle means to... Finagle.
Whatever.
It means to...
play around with it
Play
a little.
around with it.
And now I'm going to just...
do a small adjustments.
Weasel it.
Weasel.
That's another one. Weaseling. Weasel it up. Yeah, that's one that I use a lot. So see how I've then cut that at a little bit of an angle so it looks nice. And you can see I did that here with the larger one. And I could, you guys, if I felt like it needed it, I could have added a little bit of hypo cement underneath the fold and then wrapped it. It would have had a little more bite to it, but this is fine. It's not coming off. So now,
oh, I like how that looks.
I like
looks
it
really
too.
Good.
Yeah, right? And so I could come here to the other side, and I could just use chain for the other side.
We could do wire wrap beads,
right?
too.
Wire wrap beads
fun?
would look terrific. But let's go ahead and do a terminus on this side. We'll do a loop. So let's close this off. And how long did I do this one? This is about, I don't know.
I thought we said 34.
So this section, I don't know, is about 6 inches.
Okay.
We'll make it about 6. And so I'm going to choose a ring, and maybe I'll choose a copper ring this time. And I could continue with my silk wrap. This one I silk wrapped all in leather because I liked the continuity of the look. And can you see on this? This is just decorative.
I just realized the one that's closer down.
This one and this one.
Wait,
they're both decorative.
That's just a decorative one.
Just decorative.
Aren't you clever?
So, well, if you say.
I do.
Well.
And you know what the rule is, right?
What is the rule?
Rule number 1.
Right.
Emily's always right.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right. Terribly clever. So I'll go ahead and we'll just silk wrap this up real quick. Because I was kind of playing around with how things looked by silk wrapping up here with a little color. But I really liked how this was all kind of monochromatic, and my pop of color came from my briolet.
Yeah.
So I made that
well,
design
the London
choice.
Blue briolet.
Yeah. Can you go wrong?
No.
I think
No.
not. So let me just silk wrap this real quick. Let me not overrush. While I'm doing this, Em,
Sure.
why don't you show a couple of your little leather tricks with the leather and the jump rings? Because
Sure.
it's so good, and I will work some magic over here off camera.
You know, I really liked this tassel, and I as I was looking at it, it made me want to do more things with it and more charms. So I took a scrap of leather. Now, both of these pieces were leftover scraps that were hanging out in the tray. They were not something I cut specifically for it. I think I've got a piece of leather here that might have been about 4 inches altogether. I folded it in half, did a small silk wrap on it, and incorporated it into the mini hoop. So this could be part of this tassel beside it, for sure, as an extra little, here you go, Gita, doohickey.
There you go.
An extra little dangle to add some inspiration, some color, and maybe just fill it out. You know, could it go either way? Actually, you could throw that on an earwire. Make 2, throw it on an earwire, and you're good to go.
Wouldn't that be cute?
Right?
That's a great earring,
That's a really cute earring.
Yeah, it's a great earring.
And then one thing that I've always liked with strap leather is the ability to pierce it. Now, you could do this also with the compassion suede. You can actually pierce it with your awl. Or a hole puncher, either way. One thing that's nice about the awl is that it makes a very small hole. And I poke through from both sides.
Do you want a little piece of that so you can show them how
Sure.
to poke through it?
I have to get my other real important tool here.
There you go.
Give me 1 second.
There's that.
So when you go to poke a hole in the suede, make sure that you have
you want to be super careful.
Something on the back side. I would never try and do this like handheld in my fingers.
Because that awl,
is super pokey.
Super sharp.
Right? So I'm just going to pierce through with something behind it. So you could do a little piece of cardboard or a little stack of paper or whatever you got. Get through on one side, turn it over, and poke through on the other side too. And then this will allow you to have a hole that goes all the way through. One thing that you may need to do is push that leather fairly high up on the awl to open the hole up. And what you'll find, see?
Look at that.
That hole will stay open only momentarily for you to put a jump ring through.
Slide that jump ring through.
So have your jump ring open and ready. And I like to poke through both sides of the leather to make sure my hole is there. And then I open up my jump ring and feed it right through.
Yeah.
In this case, this is just, again, an add-on to the already going along loop and idea. Hanging a charm from this would be really cute. We could hang a mini tassel of chain.
Right? Wouldn't that be cool? So
right?
that leather is really becoming like a bail.
Yeah, absolutely. We could actually turn it around the other way. You know, this could be something that we fed some chain through, and then this is how the rest of that tassel is going to hang from it.
Yeah, it's
right?
so good. So good. And it was really that deerskin lace, it's pretty easy to pierce with that awl.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You're not, trying to go through like tanned leather hide or anything.
No.
It's pretty easy.
And then I was especially taken with the fact that you left your leather tails visible.
Yeah, I like that.
I liked that effect, and I thought that was just calling out for one last little bit of embellishment. So we could actually kind of combine these things and pierce a hole in the end of the piece of leather, add a charm with a jump ring.
Yeah.
So this would be another place to put a little bit of embellishments. And you could even...
Look at how nice that looks.
You could even use these decorative wraps as a way to attach a little short piece of leather that you were going to hang from.
Right, and I could, because this 5mm leather is so wide, I could pierce right through there.
Oh, yeah.
And just hang a charm.
Yep,
just
absolutely.
right
off the edge.
Right off the edge.
Right. And this one I just kind of mocked up to look like this might be how part of the centerpiece might be hanging. And with the weight of that little charm, it kind of hangs to the outside, and here's where the leather is just simply tied on. It's just a knot, nothing too exotic. These were all made with the scrap that was left over from our leather. So on the little scraps of the suede lace, don't let it go.
Yeah,
and the compassion suede would also apply to all of these things. You could absolutely do it with
You could even get the ultra suede and cut it into strips.
Yeah.
And what I would use for that is I'd actually use my rotary cutter. I've used my rotary cutter to cut those strips so they're super, super straight.
Yeah.
They look good.
Yeah, so fun. We'll take some pictures of these and put them in the episode notes.
Yeah, put them in the episode notes so you guys can see them. Yeah. So you can see here, we're coming along. We need to add some chain. And I also wanted to address like the tails of leather and closing this little end off with these guys here, these little ribbon ends. We have 2 sizes of the ribbon ends. One for the 5mm. You can see that there. And we've got one size for the 3mm. And I'm going to put that here. Okay. Now that 3mm, let's say that you also wanted to add a charm maybe down here, because I left this little tail. I'm going to use this.
Yeah,
actually,
that'd be another way to do it, for sure.
To attach my charm. And you need to make a decision. I naturally want to go ahead and put my piece this way, so these little pieces are facing up. But actually, if this is the front of my leather, or where it's going to be kind of the front of where it hangs, I want it to actually sit this way, right? So I want to be really mindful about where I place this. So now I'm going to pull my, and this is just how you'd end it as well, but I'm going to pull this up, and I actually want to clip this. I'm going to use the wire cutters for that, to really give it a nice straight across edge.
Flush blunt cut.
Yeah, and I'm going to take that out, cut it across, and then lay this in. Now there's no real need for glue here. I am going to use the awl though to make sure it's positioned nice and tight in the ribbon end. Now all you need to do with those little edges is carefully fold it over. Oops, that's the round nose plier. That's not what I want. I'm actually going to use my straight chain nose. Now these can be a little persnickety, so I'm going to come in, kind of see at an angle there, and try and fold it down a little bit. Okay? Then, once I get it folded, I'm going to make sure that my lace is flat, and I'm going to come in and fold this one down the rest of the way. Again, I'm going to get a little closer to myself so I can see it.
This kind of goes back to my ideas about metalsmithing, and I talk about this with wire wrapping a lot too. It's much easier to make corrections when you make several small moves,
yes,
rather than one great wrenching Vulcan death grip on the item.
No, that's exactly right.
There's no chance for stopping if you do it all in one go.
Right.
And if it's ruined, it's just starting all over again. Whereas making little changes, subtle little small steps, really is to your benefit.
And I'm trying to do that here. This is giving me a little bit. Yeah, it's giving me a little bit of sass, actually. So I'm gonna, well, that seems to be in there. Let me see if I can get these down. These are so sturdy that I really, come on now. Then I'll put this back on camera, you guys, so you can see.
Yeah, Kate's getting a little sass from that finding.
There we go.
Who's the boss?
I am.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Yep, this one didn't like me. Let me get a fresh one.
Another reason they come in a pack of a few.
Of a few, right? And sometimes that's just what happens.
Yep.
So, you know what I'm actually going to do with this smaller one is I'm going to see if I can pre-bend it a little bit. And I should have stuck with the 5mm one is a lot easier to close than this 3mm. So I want you guys to see a little bit of my struggle here. There we go. Now I'm going to put, but not too much of my struggle.
The struggle's real.
The struggle is real.
So these end caps have that little tooth in there in the middle that bites down into the leather. What Kate's working on is folding those sides over one at a time, one on top of the other. This does take a little hand strength. It does take a little practice as well.
Yeah, my hand strength is there we go.
Don't be horribly alarmed if the first one isn't the most beautiful.
Right.
Little bit of experiencing.
There we go.
A little bit of doing makes for a much more nice looking result.
Yeah, and you can see I've gotten this one now down nice and flat, and now this one is going to go right over the top. So see how I push it in and push it down. Now these are pretty tough little closures. There we go. So it crimps right around it. So that first one, you've got to get that fold just right. If it's too much at an angle, and I'll show you, like this one that I just kind of mushed up, that fold was just too much of a diagonal. I didn't get it folded down so that this edge then prevented me from bending this edge over it. So that was my flub with that one.
Do you want to do it with a piece of paper?
I don't know.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah, right.
So that crimp is in 3 parts.
Right.
let's imagine that there's a loop out here, and here's where the tooth is. So right in here, and you'd lay your leather right inside, and then fold one side flat.
Right. And then I came in with my plier.
Kind of creased it a bit.
And did that, yeah.
And then the other side flat.
And then I creased tight, and went through the other side tight.
And you can also reach around the leather a bit and crimp flat on top.
And I'm going to get this little end, this little bit of leather.
Visual aid.
A big visual, that's right. Let me get since my leather kind of came up here, I'm just going to come in and clip it all the way. There we go.
Yeah, Donna's saying that she uses her flat nose pliers to start that.
Sure, you could use like your wide flat nose. Sure, that would work. I kind of use the back of the body of the plier as well. So now you can see I've got my loop in there. I've got a little bit of leather that I want to remove. So I'm using, what are we using? Our trusty awl. Now I can come in and I could attach a little bead, a little
dangle
charm.
Oh my gosh!
This little tassel, whatever it is that you wanted, right?
Yep. Some
chain. So speaking of chain, let me show you how we're going to connect. You can see here with the brio what I did with this briolette. See where I connected it? I connected it in the loop of my wire wrap there.
That's very clever because that gives you movement.
And it sits in the front rather than kind of dangling
really good
funny off the side. And it gives me those two loops that are kind of layered one on top of the other. And connecting with the jump ring allowed me to do this briolette wrap just on its own.
Right, without having to attach it to anything first.
Without attaching. So let me do this. You've seen me wire wrap many a time. We've got plenty of skill builders about this, but we'll finish this up with doing that wire wrap connection. And that wire wrap connection is also how I connected this round and round clasp. On both, one end I connected it to the, where's the other end? I've got so many ends here. There we go. You can see one end is in that 5mm closure, the ribbon clamp, and the other is wire wrapped. Those are wire wrapped together. So I think I used 24 gauge for that, or maybe I used 22. I think it might have been 22. Either will work. And I'm going to cut a piece, I don't know, about 3 inches. And I'm going to get a couple of little pieces of chain. I use the lanterns.
Yeah, the lanterns and the little lentils are
the little lentil. They are the best. And in this one, I use the little lentil in antique brass and the lanterns in antique copper. This one, I have them in the antique silver. I'm just going to do a short little section here, so it doesn't need to be very terribly long. And I don't know if you guys are like me and do kind of your measuring on the fly, but I kind of eyeball that and go, yep, that's about right. But this length of chain that I have here is about, I don't know, about 10 inches, or whatever makes up the difference for the other side. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always get a little frustrated with the little lentil, as much as I love it, because it's a little bit hard to manipulate. The loop, the hole in the lentil, is so small.
It is. It's wee.
It's wee. But to use a wire wrap makes things much easier. If I'm trying to connect using a jump ring, I'd really rather connect to this loop, and then I end up having to cut that part away, and it kind of gives me fits. But the connection with the wire wrap link like you're going to do, it means that these openings can be quite small, and it'll be fine.
And I think it's much more secure connecting it with a wire wrap than it is a jump ring.
I agree. Sometimes a jump ring is just what I need.
Yeah, but that hole is so small that the jump ring would be so small
Right.
that I just need to see it real quick.
Yeah.
That the jump ring would be so small that I couldn't get it in.
Yeah.
So you can see I started by making a loop just around, bending it at an angle, making a loop around my round nose plier.
It's the man with the scarf stage.
Right. And then I need to connect this somewhere. I either need to connect it to my, like I did here, around my loop, or I need to connect it to my chain, whatever side I'm working on first. So let me go ahead, since it's going to go to this part first, I'm going to connect it to that loop. I open it up just slightly so we can get that mini hoop in there. And again, I want to make sure I've got air. Right? Now, I'm going to come up, bend this wire up. It's kind of like a briolette wrap in that.
Oh, you're so sneaky.
I need to make a loop.
I didn't realize that's what you were going to,
Yeah.
what you were up to.
I need to make a loop up at the top. So see how I've got these two wires. I'm going to bend this one wire down, ignoring this wire that's sticking up towards the sky right now. Getting my round nose plier, just like I'm making a regular wire wrap loop, up and over the top, reposition the plier, I go down and underneath, center everything so it's nice and even. Now what do I need to do, Em?
You need to connect it to something.
I'm going to attach the chain. So I'm going to go through the lantern. The way that I cut this chain up is I cut the little jump rings in between. So I've added the lantern and then the lentil.
2 lanterns.
2 lanterns, not
Right,
one, not just
correct.
one lantern. 2 lanterns. 2 lanterns are better than one. And then
It's hateful when you make that second loop and you go, wow, what a nice loop. Oh,
now
but
it's
there's
gonna-
no links in
yeah.
it.
So I'm going to just hold everything gently but firmly under my chain nose. So I'm going to wrap from the bottom of that loop to the top of the loop that's connected to the big or the mini hoop. One against the other. Really get that tip of that chain nose in there. Bring one around 360 degrees, nice and tight, one against the other.
Yep. And you're going over your original wraps.
I am. Well, it's not an original wrap. It's just
that's
the
right.
two
That's
pieces
right.
of wire
Right, it's the two
that are
pieces.
sitting side by side.
Right.
So then it's not overly bulky, or you don't have 2 wraps meeting in the middle.
Right.
All of that stuff. So I pull this wire up and this wire, and then I'm going to clip. Make sure that I only clip that wire, and I only clip this wire, covering it so it doesn't fly up and
didn't hit me in the eye?
hit you or I in the eye. Then I get my bent chain, and I tell that wire, hey wire, you just lay down right there. There we go.
Tuck in with your
Yeah.
brothers there.
Yeah, tuck in. There we go. And that one is just going to hang out there. It's wrapped in nice and tight. So you can see how, and if this loop is a little not straight, so we're going to just straighten everything out there. And there you have it. It's a nice little wrapped figure 8. Now for the briolette, I'll just do that briolette wrap, and I will attach it. I'll attach it with the jump ring right to that wrap right there. And we have a great skill builder on wire wrapping briolettes, so it's pretty easy to do, and then pretty easy to follow. And then as we finish up on this piece, you'll see we're just going to close it up like I did here by attaching another ribbon cord, or ribbon clamp rather, to this round and round. And we'll attach the other side using, I did it with a wrap, whoops, on this one here. And that's all she wrote, really.
I love it.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that wrap looks so good, Kate. I'm
Thanks.
tickled by it.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get it from just looking at the project as we were talking about it.
Yeah.
But man, it looks really good.
Thanks. I like the way it's nice, it's enclosed, it's clean. I use that wire wrap a
You
lot.
didn't need an extra bead or anything.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
Nothing. It just closes up nicely.
Real good.
So thank you. Thank you. And then I think our little bottle, our Itsy bottle,
It's ready.
is ready. Though it did tip over in the broadcast, but I don't think that anything is glued to the top. Then you just decide where you want that bottle. The bottle, I kind of made the longest piece so it kind of
Sticks out
a little bit, holds out a little. Or you could certainly just not do this tassel at all and connect that little bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
Or just do a couple of little things. You don't have to have this whole,
textured stuff.
whole
If that's not
business
your,
around it.
it's
Yeah.
not your bag.
Yep, whatever works for you.
And I think going to the thinner leather for just the bottle by itself,
It's kind of
it's a little
kind of
nicer
cool,
balance,
right?
yeah.
It balances really nicely. But I like them both. We could add more chain. You could wire wrap here. So I really want you to think about this design and use this design as a good jumping off point. The rest of the charms, I use this walking Buddha. Again, we could add this cool little square guy that we looked at earlier.
Yep, the signature.
That signature look. It just depends on what you like and what works for you.
Kate, that kind of brings up a good point that I have been really excited to see on the Facebook group is people taking the techniques that we talk about and kind of running off with them, which is really what I want people to do as a teacher.
Yeah.
I love to teach you how to do something, but I want you to make it your own. I understand the kind of the appeal of a kit in that you didn't have to source every item yourself. It's kind of all built in there. But we do have these little recipe pages and the shop pages. You just can go on and go click, click, click on the ones you want. And you can change the colors out. It's fine. Pick a different color if you like. If you don't like the animal suede, get the compassion suede. And the process will be the same.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it when people take something and run away with it. Run on and make it your own. That's the beauty of all this stuff.
Yeah, and especially designs like this, and the design that Janice did last week, her Ballet Malo piece. People have been creating such beautiful designs with it, so we're super stoked to see all of that.
No, I love that. I do. I
All
really
come out.
do.
Well, I guess that's about it.
Is it?
Yep. Shall we bring this
I think so.
broadcast to a close? So let's go ahead and move the camera, Bran, and
you can tell Lynn that's Flight. That is the one that
Oh,
she's
okay. The
admiring.
feather.
yes, Flight. Yeah, these Nunn Design charms are so great because they're detailed on both sides, so you can have a right and a left.
Well, like I said, she really does think each of these pieces through. There's not one of her designs or pieces that she hasn't come through the design phase completely with.
Yeah, it's a complete thought.
Yeah,
which is
and
great.
all of her supplies that she makes. That the jump rings all match, that the colors are all the same. It's really a package deal.
And my mom was asking about this piece being stamped like an initial.
Oh, sure.
If you are,
It's not visible now. 'Cause
if you are a stamper,
Yeah.
you could certainly stamp these
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely. That's the
for sure.
signature look charm. And yeah, absolutely, you could stamp on that for sure.
My mom was always asking about initials because we like initials in our family. We do.
You do?
We do.
Really?
You can see as
Really?
evidenced by my initial pin.
Yeah.
You can see.
Where's your
vintage
initial
piece.
necklace that we bought you?
Well, so we said we were going to talk about a little bit about what you're wearing. You got a lot of remarks, Emily. So talk about your ring.
My cocktail ring? Yeah, this is my dishy ring.
It's really cool.
Right,
You made that
dishy.
piece.
I did. And this is actually made out of metal clay. So I textured it and built this little ring. And so it's got some of the beautiful flower texture on the back, and the
Yeah,
band is
beautiful
very
piece.
simple.
that because we've moved the camera up.
Oh, sorry,
not
that's
visible
right.
Anymore.
Um,
I'm gonna
Thank
zoom
you.
in
It's
now.
okay. You have to just remind me, Brandon.
Yeah.
Right? So I call it a dishy ring because it's dishy,
Yeah, it's really great.
right?
And I love the beauty of metal clay. It's just it's fine silver. It's a pure silver piece, and it just takes texture and patina
Oh,
so well,
It's really
so beautifully.
glamorous. I love it.
I made my wedding bands.
Yes, you did.
Out of metal,
Metal
clay.
clay. Mhm.
Yeah, they are metal clay. I love them, love them, love them. It's really beautiful. Well, I am wearing a couple of things. Like I said, we were talking about initials. This initial, one of my vintage things. We love a brooch. I found this, and it actually had my initials on it, but they're a little out of order. The K is on this side, the F is on this side,
That's
but
all right.
the R
It
is
all
still in
works.
the middle, so it works for me. And then, speaking of initials, this is a wax seal that you and our friend Jessica got me for my 50th birthday.
And it's actually a
few years
CR.
back. Yeah,
Catherine's a Catherine with
Catherine
a C.
with a C. That's right.
Yeah.
So I actually did buy some sealing wax. And
Did you? Have you tried it?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have a little seal. I put it on my fridge.
Oh,
that was all.
I'm glad.
It made me feel super important.
I'm
Just
so
a little
glad.
scrap of paper.
Yeah.
And seal. And then this is a little piece that I made. I was experimenting with some stuff this weekend. So it's a vintage die that I pressed out. And it has a little secret on the back.
It's a
little mirror.
Little mirror.
Little mirror so I can check my lipstick.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. As you should.
As we should.
Yep.
So yeah, so it was kind of a little treasures. We're wearing our treasures today.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So I hope you guys enjoyed creating some treasures along with us. We cannot wait to see what you've made. Gosh, our table is just a mess, isn't it?
Well, I
so
actually kind of like this when we get done with something and there's this creative kind of swirl of stuff.
Yeah, of stuff. It's great. Well, we have a couple of cool things for you guys today. Since we named this project Message in a Bottle, and we wanted to give you a few little things to put in it. We, if you, your little gift with purchase today, if you order, today is the 14th of March, 2018, and it's daylight savings time has started here in the States, so it is 12 noon, a little after here. If you make an order before 1 p.m. today, 1 p.m. Pacific time, and you write Castaway in your shipping notes, because, you know, it's like a message in a bottle.
Treasure.
When you're a when you're a castaway,
Pirates
right? And
shipwrecked.
Yes, shipwreck. Yeah. You need to throw your little message in a bottle. So if you write Castaway, we're going to give you a little baggie of the same little mix that I used today. Yeah. And there's some little faceted glass beads, there's some seed beads, there's a couple of little shadows in there, and then some copper seed beads. So we'll give you that. And we also have, we're going to toss in a length, we had some leather samples here, so we're going to toss in a little length of this deerskin lace. There's a few colors that we're not carrying, so it'll be a little bonus, but we have them. So we'll toss one of these guys right on into the package.
So you'll have some little leather to play with for making the necklace or making charms
or whatever.
The tassel part.
To play with.
Yeah.
And if you place an order today and you add Treasure20 as a coupon code, we're just going to knock 20% off your order.
And that does not hurt.
No, and again, that's for today only, 3/14/2018, and that ends at midnight tonight Pacific time. So coupon code is Treasure20, and your shipping notes little blurb is Castaway.
Castaway.
That's what we've got.
Yeah.
So next week, we've got something really fun.
Vintage finds.
Fun with vintage finds.
We're going to really have a good time next week.
It's
an area
it's gonna be so fun.
that Kate and Janice and I really agree on. That we
do
love them.
We love them.
We do.
And if you are not familiar with our vintage finds, it's a section on the beadshop.com website where we have kind of old pieces that we've sourced that are like carved, semi-precious, a lot of really cool stuff, and they're a real kind of staple. They were a staple for us when we had our brick and mortar, and they're still a staple for us now that we're at beadshop.com online. So we're going to do some twists on the Born Yesterday project, which has some macrame. So I'm going to be jumping out with some macrame. My project for next week is sitting, I can see it, it's sitting
off
right
camera.
over there off camera. So I can't wait to share it with you. And Janice has a beautiful piece as well that she's sending in. So we're going to talk a little bit how we use those vintage finds, have some other ideas for them. So we're excited to share that technique with you. And then to round out the month, Seed Bead School is back with Emily.
Yep. We're going to do bead embroidery. I know
you are.
A lot of you have been waiting for this, and I'm also going to talk about how to back pieces that you've already made, like the heart, if you want to put that on a backing and make it into a pin. I'll show you a great way to do that.
Yeah.
And because it's really nice to know that you can make more than just a necklace out of something.
Yeah, and we're adding pin backs for them.
Pin backs are on their way. So
it's going to be really, I can't
there's
wait.
some good stuff coming your way.
Yeah, we've got some special needles, your special embroidery needle.
Oh, good. The sharps are coming.
Yeah, they're going to love them.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
actually here. So
Oh, they are?
we're
Oh,
going to
good.
show you guys how to use the special sharps needles to
I'm
embroider.
a real
gonna be good
pain in the
times.
neck teacher because I have all these special needs,
She
needles
does.
and thread and
So many things Emily needs, but
I
we're
know.
stoked to get them because it's going to be such a great broadcast. I
Yeah,
can't
and
wait.
you guys are going to love bead embroidery. This is part 1 of
Mm-hmm.
bead embroidery. So there's going to be some further ones down the road where we'll do some more exotic things, but that vintage finds and the bead embroidery are interconnected. Wait till you
Yes.
see what we do with them.
We can't wait.
Yep.
Well, all right, our darlings, we will see you. I will see you Friday for Free Tip Friday at 10:30 Pacific time. We can't wait to see what you do with this process, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another Facebook
Yeah, I
Live.
can't wait to see how you take it and run with it for sure.
Run.
Run.
All right.
Don't walk.
We'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.